and welcome back to What a Barb, a Polin podcast. I'm Ovs, and today you're joined. No, I'm joined. We're all joined. It feels like a really long time since we've done this, don't you think?
I know, yeah, it has.
It feels like an out-of-body experience, and I think it's only been like a week or two.
The energy is different.
I am joined by, can you guess, the one, the only, Miss Beans.
Do-do-do-do.
It's a bean!
It's a beans!
First of all, welcome to What a Barb, a Polin podcast.
Well, hello!
How are you doing?
I just got done with therapy.
Beautiful.
It was lovely. It was actually a really great session.
Any revelations?
Yeah, we were just talking about, like, anxiety within dating and stuff like that. So I'm pretty okay. I've been obsessed with cabaret.
Right, okay, guys. I can't explain to you. Obviously, we'll talk about it in a second, but, you know, post-season 3, things are different. Life feels a little bit different. Mm-hmm. We're finally getting sleep for the first time in pretty much 2 years, and we're discovering interests. Can you imagine? Now, Beans' interest has become, in fact, it's not even an interest, her entire life. And therefore, our entire life. Because,
I'm so sorry.
Because, like, besides the podcast, we talk all the time, even with the time zone difference.
Yep.
So what happens to one of us is therefore a communal experience, whether we want it to or not. And Beans, what's happened to you this week? Now that, you know, we're not waiting for crumbs and everything, how are you using your time?
Oh my, well, crying about men. One.
Crying about men, obviously.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
2.
Making lemon tarts.
Making lemon tarts. So there has been a discourse. And if you're in the Broadway sphere, you know.
We should point out that all of us are quite musical theatre-y people, aren't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I was in my early 20s, I auditioned for a few shows on Broadway.
Did you?
I did, yeah.
Bean McBean, as you can tell from our outro songs.
I got through one, but I was so young and I was like, I'm in love, I'm gonna say no and go to Korea instead, which is where my ex was from.
That's a long story.
Yeah. So there's been discourse about Eddie Redmayne's performance for Cabaret, and so everyone's been talking about it. I've never watched it before, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go watch it. They have the 1993 BBC like made for TV one with Alan Cumming, who has, as I've discovered, become the standard for what we know of cabaret currently, and I fucking loved it. I loved it. I've been listening to the soundtrack all day. I've watched the stage 3 times in the past 3 days. Like, every day I have watched it. I was sitting there yesterday in the grocery store playing the 1993 soundtrack, just like almost saying it out loud in the store. It was obnoxious.
It's just the fact that, because obviously we send each other a lot of messages.
Yeah.
And we send each other lots of voice memos as well. We communicate a lot by voice memo. Yep. And we'll be like having a genuine conversation about something. And then you click on the next voice note and it's like, Willkommen,
Piano.
Welcome. You just never know when it's going to hit. This is what's happened to us in the post-season 3 world. We've become What a Cabaret.
I said this earlier, we became What a Barb, an anti-fascism podcast. Now more relevant than ever.
I'm trying to convince Beans to come over to the UK. I know it's on Broadway, and I'm like, just shh. It's on Broadway, but it's also in London. So I'm trying to convince her to come over. I saw it with Amy Lee Wood as Sally Bowles. You know what? She's from Mayfair. It's related to Bridgerton. The dust of Mayfair.
It's so good.
So that's Beans' life. Just at random intervals, just bursting into song.
Lately, the tiddly-diddly-dee, 2 ladies, tiddly-diddly-dee, 2 ladies has been stuck in my head.
Life is a cabaret, babe, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Well, but wait, how are you?
I am sweating, babe. London, there's like a heatwave, and if you know anything about the UK, it's that we can't handle any extremity of weather. So we're all melting. But beyond that, post-season 3 live, I've slept for more than 2 hours a night.
I know. Lucky started a new show.
Not a new podcast.
No.
And you can catch Lecky. Yeah, she messaged us. She was like, I've watched a narrative TV show for the first time in 2 years. I can't risk it because I don't really watch TV, and I made an exception for Bridgerton. And look how that ended up. But you've got us two today, and we're just jumping on here because, you know, season 3 is over. The tour is over. Promo is kind of winding down. We're heading back into the wilderness weeks. And we've had quite a few questions about the future of the podcast. And today we're going to go into our plans for the podcast. So that's kind of the point of our little mini episode. So forgive our ramblings. But, season 3 might be over, but we keep chugging along a little Polin train, don't we? And there are still a few tidbits, aren't they?
Yeah.
First of all, you're very good. You have a good radar for this kind of stuff. You've always been very grounding. You've always been a good instinct. Have you seen the rumours about the casting call?
No.
Right, beautiful. I can get your first reaction once I actually find it.
Okay. It's so funny because they post this in the chat and then I just never see it.
It's a miracle we got her to watch season 3. So Collider had an exclusive article, feature, whatever you want to call it, saying Bridgerton season 4 may be casting a key character from the books. So basically, to summarise, Collider has learned, and again, this is unfounded speculation, we don't actually know for sure, although also they do need to film season 4 at some point. So, it's not that shocking that they need to cast people for that. But Collider has learned that Netflix is underway casting a new key role in the highly anticipated 4th season of Bridgerton. Described as a major recurring role, the casting call is looking for an actress to portray Emily, a character roughly between 24 to 30 years described. We love her. If this is Sophie, we love you, Sophie. Plucky, endlessly resourceful, and having trouble trusting others.
Interesting.
I feel like I'm those things.
Yeah.
Emily is scripted as an East Asian female. The role will involve nudity and scenes of a sexual nature, which suggests that Emily may be a new love interest for one of the Bridgerton siblings. Obviously, with that description going around, it does evoke one miss. Can you believe it?
Hello, where is Sophie Beckett? Have you seen Sophie Beckett? I'm looking for Sophie Beckett.
Hey, I'm looking for Sophie Beckett.
Now, where
here.
is Sophie Beckett,
Oh,
bro?
don't you know?
I can't seem
I'm really
to find
looking for Sophie
Beckett anywhere.
Can you tell me
where
she
has
is?
Sophie Beckett gone?
I don't even really know who she is, but I'm looking for her.
I don't even know who she is, but I'm looking for her. Still my favourite thing you've ever done in your life. Do you feel like this is it? Do you feel this is Sophie, let's go? And do you think Ben is season 4?
I do. Well, okay, yes. I think Ben has been season 4 because there's always a close-up shot of, the character that's going to be next. And, people thought it was a little bit ambiguous when Eloise was like, oh, don't worry, I'll be back for the masquerade ball.
That's exactly how she
like
sounds. Did you say you didn't go on Broadway in the end? What a pity.
Oh man. But then it does a long close-up shot on Ben. It's a very long beat on Ben if you go back and watch it. So it's it's Ben. It's gonna be Ben next.
And you have the tradition of the next lead saying something.
Yeah.
Obviously with Anthony saying I'm not looking for love, take love out the equation. Colin, we all know what he said. God, that will be on my fucking headstone at this point. And Ben, obviously, he wasn't ready to settle down with someone like Lady Tilly. Do you think this is the casting call for our lovely Sophie?
I do believe it is.
Elusive as ever, she has been the greatest mystery of our time.
There is Sophie.
And season 4 production, it won't be long before it starts, but it isn't starting up just yet. But yeah, there are a few crumbs knocking around, so keep your eyes peeled. If you remember all the way back to 2022, the show came out on March 25th, and then Polin were announced on May 16th, so it was a couple of months out. Who knows, in a month or two, that announcement could be coming.
I know.
There are a few little season 4 crumbs, even amidst, the winding down of everything.
Yeah.
Because in recent interviews, Jess has talked about Polin in season 4. We might talk about it in another episode. And obviously they'll be taking a bit more of a backseat because, they've had their season, they've had their love story. But Jess has said that there is something to play with regarding Penelope's continuing of Lady Whistledown. That could come up more in season 4. And she says, we are going to see Colin, my wife Bridgerton, out in his full, happily married force.
That's good.
A happily married Polin, can you even imagine, babe?
Wow.
And then the other thing is Jess also said it might be possibly a different season that is set in, as in the season of the year.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Which I think is interesting. I think that rules out Philoise because I feel like Philoise needs to be spring, summer, flowers out in full force. Do you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And then the other thing I've been up to, just before we get on to our plans, our machinations, our trials and tribulations, I went to the Liberty Experience.
You did, yes.
So London Friends, or if you're near London, I think this is only on for a few more days. I think it finishes on July the 2nd. So get your skates on because this is probably going to come out like a few days before that. But Liberty, the shop, is a really famous shop here in London. They put on a like immersive experience on their 4th floor and they did a collab to sort of create Bridgerton inspired fabrics. And it's been up for a while and I've always meant to go. And I kind of thought it was like a small thing, like a little pop-up. I went the other day. Amazing. I had a great time.
Yeah.
I sent you the pictures. I probably will have shared them on social media by this point because there's only a few days left. If you can go, do go. And if you can't go, have a look on social media. But it was so beautiful.
Yeah, it was. I told you this, but I really loved the paper, like, floating stacks. Those were great.
There were, like, stacks of Lady Whistledowns and the pages were flying.
Yeah.
And there were so many gorgeous details.
It was beautiful.
And there was that massive biscuitier version of Bridgerton House.
Yes. Oh, can we talk about that for a second? I was dying because, I'm sure we've posted these pictures. We do have a history with biscuits.
We do. Biscuiteers have done a collaboration, and a few months ago, I can't remember, like last month, we went and bought some and took them on a photo. I don't know why. I was obsessed with the idea of doing a photo shoot across London with these biscuits and dragged Veg along for the day. Colin got beheaded. These things happen.
Yeah. Colin lost his head, literally and figuratively.
Well, indeed. And then the massive Bridgerton House was there in full biscuity glory. It felt very fitting.
And if you notice in the picture, Penelope is much taller than Colin is. It's just so funny. He looks like a child, and then there's Penelope towering over him. It's so funny.
Oh my God, the things that they did for season 3.
I know.
They went to town. Season 4, if it's Ben, it'll be really beautiful because it'll all be masquerade themed.
Yeah.
And then when it's for Louise, it'll all be flower themed.
Oh, I'm gonna love that.
Yeah, much to look forward to. Speaking of... what a transition, babe.
Yeah.
We are a Polin podcast. We set out on a mission, probably bit off a bit more than we could chew at the time, but it was well intentioned.
Yeah.
We set out on a mission to pass the time until season 3 came out. Obviously, when we started the podcast, we were deep in the wilderness weeks.
Yeah.
We actually released our first episode when Tudum came out, but beyond that point, there was nothing. It was a time when it was a very small group of fans just sort of keeping each other afloat. We were getting a few filming crumbs here and there, and we were just all speculating about the season. And so the podcast was very much created to sort of keep spirits up, keep our own spirits up, keep each other occupied, talk about Polin, share updates. And obviously here we are. We have our happy ever after. And quite a few of our lovely listeners have been asking what our plans are now that season 3 is out. You've just put your glasses on like you mean business.
It's because I could not see, but yeah, I do mean business.
So a lot of our lovely listeners have been sending us messages asking if this is it for the podcast, if we have any future plans for the podcast. And we haven't really addressed it up until this point because, to be honest, I don't think we'd really decided.
Well...
I'm so sorry if you sent us a message in the past few months asking us, and if you've noticed that we just haven't, like, we've talked around the question, I'm so sorry. It's just, we didn't know.
You know, we had to really talk about it, and I'll tell you what.
We talked.
We cried.
Genuinely, we've put everything we've had into this podcast, and the past few months, you know what, I'd say since like February.
I'd go even back to December. That's when everything started coming out, yeah.
I always think of it in like 2 halves. I think originally we were doing our Rewatch episodes. We had a really fun time, but that was really hard because we were doing it weekly. And I was travelling, so I would like just arrive on a random island with no signal. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But then what's happened is this year in 2024, everything we've done has been really reactionary. Anytime there'd be like a bit of news, we'd like drag our bones and record it. I think Lecky said the other day, we've put out 57 episodes, if you include Weekly Crumbs, in 53 weeks. And when I say it's a lot of work to make one episode.
It is. It really is.
We have wondered, we've pondered, we've talked it out. And Beans, I don't know if I've already said this, but what is the decision? What is the verdict? To continue or not to continue? That is the question.
We are going to... continue.
I'm very hot. I can't get overexcited.
I know.
The thing is, we really want to tell the full story of Pen and Colin.
Yep.
And we really want to keep a little bit of Bridgerton magic in everyone's lives. Ultimately, we were formed in the Wilderness Weeks. We can head back into the Wilderness Weeks. We know how to do this, guys.
Yep, we do.
But we know for some of you that, you know, you have your Polin happy ever after that you've waited for so long. And you might be ready to ride your carriages off into the Polin sunset. If so, if this is the moment we part, our little parting of ways. We just want to give you all the biggest thank you for listening to us from the bottom of our hearts. It's kept us going, hasn't it, Beans? In rough seas.
It has. It really has.
We appreciate it so, so dearly. But we do completely understand that once you've got your happy ending, other stories await. You know, go listen to Cabaret.
Life is a cabaret.
You too might become obsessed with Cabaret. And if that's your destiny, we wish you all the very best. However, if you are still with us, if you would like to stick around, if you would like a little bit of pollen magic in your lives, then we are so pleased to say that we will be sticking around, albeit things will look a little bit different, which we'll get into in just a second, but we are going to be here, a tiny little lighthouse, a little dot in the vast, vast ocean of life. And if you would like to continue listening,
come on over.
Things will look a little bit different going forwards because, as we say, we are tired and broken human beings.
Yeah.
And we have nothing but time ahead of us now, haven't we?
Yes.
One of the big questions that we've been asked is, are we going to be doing a rewatch of season 3? And it's a Polin focused rewatch as well. If you're new to the podcast, when we do our rewatches, we're not necessarily watching the whole of this. Well, we are watching the whole of the episode, but we sort of chart Polin's journey with a few little asides here and there.
Right.
And we did that for season 1 and we did that for season 2. And lots of people have asked if we're going to do it for season 3. Beans? Is that on the cards?
We sure absolutely rootin' tootin' are.
Not just yet, though.
No, not just yet.
Because to rewatch something, you have to have watched it. And, you know, we're still processing. We're still digging. We're still learning. Also, we need a little break. Everyone needs to go have a little bit of summer holiday.
Yes.
Our little plans as we're going forward. All being well, we will probably have quite a little fun episode coming in the next week or two.
Yeah.
Not to say too much, but I think it's a little bit different. It's something we've not done before.
It's exciting.
It'll be quite fun. Right, Beans?
It will.
Might revolve around a popular form of transport.
Yes. We're going on a journey in the Magic School Bus.
All aboard, babe. And then after that, I think at some point in the next week or two, we are going to record a huge season 3 Q&A, an all-encompassing Q&A. We're going to be taking to Instagram to ask you for your questions. If you have any questions for us about season 3, it can be something about the story, it can be favourite scenes, it can be favourite costumes. We're doing part 1, part 2 together as a cohesive journey. Then please let us know and we're going to sort of share not our final thoughts, but sort of a roundup.
Yeah.
That big episode, we're going to chop that into and we're going to split that over summer. So over July, August, we're not really sure, but we're going to split it up a little bit because again, we've got nothing but time.
Yeah.
And we're not sure on the exact dates. So please bear with us. Then when all is said and done, when we're back, we will begin our Polin rewatch of season 3. Now, in the vast expanse of time, what we're going to be doing is we're going to promise you 1 episode a month, but it's going to be a good one. So each month we're going to be rewatching 1 episode of season 3. This is unlike any rewatch we've done before because it is all about Polin. They're in it so much more.
Right.
Also, it's not going to be about speculation anymore. It's going to be about what ifs. It's going to be about
purely reflection.
So we're going to have 1 rewatch episode a month, but we're going to make the month quite fun, aren't we, Beans? We're going to sort of, each month is going to be really heavily themed on that episode. So there'll be other things going on, which we might share at a later date when we've sort of got our heads around it. But
we're still working out the kinks.
We're going to find a way to really make each month a celebration of that particular story, that particular episode.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And again, it's just going to be a little sprinkle of Polin magic in your ears once a month.
Yep.
Maybe occasionally we might do an extra episode, but we're not going to promise anything.
If anything, it'll most likely be like a weekly crumbs thing. So it'll just be either myself and Ovs or Ovs and Lecky or...
You know, season 4 will be in production. We won't be tracking the crumbs as much. We're not a Benofi podcast at the end of the day. But if little updates come, we will definitely share things here and there. So there will be things going on. But I think just so we're very transparent, we will definitely have 1 main episode a month. But we need time to really digest the story, right? Because we'd lived with season 1 and 2 for ages.
Yes.
Whereas like this is still something we're learning. So we're really going to take the summer to really, really get it into our bones. So that's kind of the plans going forward. And if that sounds a bit sparse, please just remember that we just have so much time ahead of us. if we crammed it all into 2 months, we'd have nothing to do for.
Yeah, exactly.
After the rewatch, I don't know. We've barely just got through the decision to continue the podcast.
We're going to learn along with you guys. So, like I said, we have other plans as well within those months, and we're going to reveal them at a later date when I think we have everything more.
Our ducks and swans in a row.
Yeah, beautiful.
We love doing this podcast so much. It's such an important part of our friendships.
Yeah, and I will say that, like, we probably will talk about the other couples and other stuff like that. We're just trying to complete the story of Polin. So if you are a fan of Bridgerton in general, like, you're still obviously welcome here, and we'll talk all things Bridgerton as well, and we'll just see where we go.
There we go. What a Barb, what an update.
Yeah. What an update. It's fun. It's just like we needed to take this break since probably December, and it's we never got to it. And so we just needed that little bit of time to just chill.
Yeah.
And that also gives us to continue to plan things behind the scenes so that you guys get really great content going into the future as well.
We need to keep ourselves occupied.
Yeah, and we need to keep you occupied when you're in your bath. Can I say that was one of my favorite episodes, was us watching the trailer. We were all so out of it.
And I think this is going to be a fun part as well about the rewatches, because we're not going to be speculating anymore.
No. Mm-mm.
But we'll be sort of, like I said, maybe talking about like, oh, what if this scenario had unfolded slightly differently? And we'll also just be reflecting like, that was that random tiny blurry pen that we saw in a t-shirt. There she is.
I know.
We're reflecting on the journey of it all, you know?
I'm actually excited to talk about that stuff and like the crumbs that we saw and how we interpreted them at the time.
Yeah.
So that'll be cute. And you know, there will be speculation for benefit, obviously, but...
And even a little bit of Polin speculation here and there, because obviously they are going to take a reduced role in season 4. That's the nature of the show. They will be there in some capacity, so we will too.
Yeah.
We really hope that you enjoyed listening to the podcast over the past year or however long you've been with us. Thank you so much. Love you forever. However, if you're a fan of tumbleweed, and if you like dry deserts with not a single sprig of life, and if you would like to head back into the Bridgerton wilderness, we are the co-hosts of the good ship. What about, I don't know where I'm going with this. There's not a ship in the desert. What is there in a desert? Is it like a truck? What mode of transport do we have in the desert?
A jeep?
Like a cart? I'm thinking like old-timey, babe.
Oh, I don't know. A train, maybe?
Look, we'll be the cactus in your desert. I feel like this has got a bit weird.
Yeah, yep. We tried.
It's like one of the fabrics that Liberty made is called Penelope's Guard, and I was like, Beans has ruined that for me.
I know.
I sent it to you. I was like, this is really lovely, and you've ruined it.
Well, you know, Violet ruined it for us.
And you know what? She didn't even do any bloody gardening after all that.
Yeah, I think he's being set up to be a multi-season character, and I didn't even consider that, which is all things we will talk about in our rewatches.
Coming soon to a podcast platform near you.
Coming soon-ish.
We're going to have a couple of other episodes coming out, so we'll definitely still be around. But in the meantime, if you are joining us, come on in. We are ready. Where can everyone find us, Beans? Do you know? Can you remember where people can find us? Let's see.
Ooh, let's see. You can find us at What a Barb Pod on Instagram and YouTube.
You can. That's not a lie. It's not how Lecky does it, though, is it?
What else does she say?
You can find us at What About Pod on Instagram and TikTok.
Oh, and TikTok, bitch. I forgot about TikTok.
TikTok, we've neglected you. Yeah, sorry, TikTok. So yeah, Instagram, TikTok. And then if you were a little veg.
And you can find us on YouTube at What a Barb Pod, where you can watch the podcast with some beautiful collages. Or you can listen to us on all other streaming platforms.
Very humble of you to talk about collages that way, Beans.
You know, sometimes you gotta be your own biggest fan.
And you know what life is, babe? Sing us out, Beans.
A cabaret. Leave your troubles outside. In here, life is beautiful.
Das violin. Do 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 do.
A Polin podcast.